Yep, it's going to be just amazing when you consider the fact that Donald Trump used to join our show once a week, just talk about what's in the news, and then a short time later, he would be the news around the world as he becomes the president-elect of the United States. He'll be the 45th president, and the guy that's probably scratching his head and saying, how did this happen the most, more than Hillary Clinton, has to be President Obama. Because he said, don't destroy my legacy. You're leaving me with 54% approval rating. Don't destroy my legacy. Elect Hillary Clinton, and they didn't.
Well, people aren't in support of what's going on in the establishment right now. They want change, and they said that loud and clear last night. Now, throughout his campaign, Donald Trump predicted a Brexit election here in the United States.
All right, nobody knew it would be bigger than Brexit. But Steve Hilton is a former advisor to the UK Prime Minister David Cameron, and we've been talking to him over the last 2 months, and every single time he says, I see a lot of similarities, even though when Donald Trump had the Billy Bush tape and other things came out that made it look like he was bottoming out, you said that there's something there. Did you really expect this, Steve?
Well, it's amazing, really, all night long, and it's been a long night. I've been using that word, wow, isn't this amazing? And then I stop myself and think, it's not that amazing, because actually it's the same, as we've discussed many times. It feels like I ought to be there with you in New York and for a group hug at this moment, because we've been saying this all along, which is that you have, first of all, that so many people who support Trump, who really responded to his economic agenda, to what he was saying about jobs and growth and opportunity and on immigration, but who were completely shamed by the media and by the establishment into being told that they were xenophobic or they were racist, they were bigots, and therefore they didn't come out and admit it. And you saw exactly the same thing going on with Brexit, where people who supported Brexit were told they were narrow-minded, bad people. And so it's not surprising that the polls were so wrong and people are in such shock. But really the big point, I think, is what underlies these two things, and it's much, much bigger and more significant what's happened here in America. And that is that for decades now, working Americans have been completely let down by an establishment that has pursued an agenda on globalization and on trade and on the economy that has benefited the very richest, but which has left half of Americans earning less than they did 17 years ago, despite having Republicans in charge or Democrats in charge. It's all been the same to them. And that's what they've responded to, the desire for a real shake-up from that failed agenda.
Sure. And, Steve, as well, over the last number of months, Donald Trump has reminded people that for the average American, the system is rigged. And then when we see, you know, the WikiLeaks and we hear about whatever happened with the FBI investigation into her emails, it just looked like there's a different set of rules for the elites and everybody else is getting screwed.
That's exactly right. I think that it's all come together at this moment, and what you've seen really is working Americans giving a middle finger, a massive middle finger to that establishment, because they knew all along that this is how it was working, and that was proved during the campaign.
Establishment leaders all around the world, I wonder if they're scratching their heads this morning and saying, uh-oh, I'm scared, because this seems to be just sweeping all across the globe now. What is your message for our viewer about the relationship with Putin? Because he said, you know, Hillary Clinton wanted to paint this picture that he was in bed with Putin, that they were best friends, and he said in the last debate, we're not best friends. I've just said I want to work with him, just like I'm working with the president of Mexico to you can get more bees with honey. What's your message to all of us?
You know that whole argument about Russia really made me very angry, because if you think about who's been making life easier for Putin, it was Obama who was the one that stood by when Putin marched into the Ukraine and did nothing, basically, and actually said as much. Obama said in an interview, well, does anyone really expect us to do anything and to stand up? That's in Europe's backyard. We're not going to respond. So it was on his watch, and when Clinton was Secretary of State, that Putin became this kind of rogue actor on the world stage. And the truth is that leaders like Putin respond to strength. And I think that what you're going to see now is a president that's going to stand up for a strong America and for the values of America, but with real strength that we haven't seen for many years.
Yeah, I mean, trusting Vladimir Putin, I think that's a real stretch, but actually getting his respect is not. I got to ask you this, Steve. You have a president-elect that even his billionaire friends did not finance his campaign, the people he ran with and built stuff with and go to his clubs. Then you have the establishment of the party didn't go to bat for him outside Senator Sessions of Alabama and some others like Mayor Giuliani. He's actually taking the Oval Office and doesn't really owe anyone anything. This is the ultimate freedom agenda for a leader, isn't it?
It's exactly right. And what was really interesting during the campaign was that Trump was the one leading amongst small donors. They really responded to him. And this is what people want to see. So when he talked about draining the swamp and dealing with the corruption that everyone can see, again, through the WikiLeaks, going on in D.C., stuff that we suspected all along and now we really see it, then this is exactly the kind of leader you want, who is not beholden to big donors and special interests, who can really shake things up and make American democracy what it really should be, which is the voice of the people, not the voice of those who fund campaigns.
Okay, now it's his chance to actually make America great again. Can he do it? Stay tuned. Steve Hilton joined us today from California. Steve, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Great to be with you.
Great to have you as well.